I'd like to invite Mr. Soumya Mukherjee. He is a faculty of IIT Bombay from the Department of Biosciences and Bioengineering. He also has one project in healthcare and two in the water domain at Tata Center. He's also the Dean of Student Affairs in IIT Bombay. You're welcome.
Okay, thanks Gayatri, thanks Sachin for inviting me. So I work in the area of sensors, and sensors for everything for that matter. We are going to just talk about water and health today, but that does not restrict that these sensors cannot be used for other types of monitoring. Water and health are actually very primary issues, and the type of work that I do here is extremely interdisciplinary. Students in my lab come from a physics background, they come from biomedical engineering, biotechnology, chemistry, pharma, uh, electrical instrumentation and all sorts. Just like I have degrees, my 3 degrees, BTech, Masters and PhD are in 3 different disciplines. So, we will start off by looking at India. There is a horrible word which has been coined by someone which is called the bottom of the pyramid. I do not like the word bottom of the pyramid because it is sort of derogatory in nature. Actually, without the bottom of the pyramid, the top of the pyramid will not exist. किसी को तो bottom बनना ही है. I would rather have it as the top of the funnel. Unfortunately, in the top of the funnel, nothing stays. All the wealth gets down through the funnel into the bottom of the funnel, which gains. Now, can we do something about that top of the funnel so that the lives of the people who are working their level best to create such auditoriums and all that is somewhat better. The world has UN and all those, UNESCO, this, that, they have come up with this sustainable development goals. There are a whole bunch of goals which we are supposed to reach by 2035 or something. If you look at it, there is good health and well-being, of course, there is clean water and sanitation, there is life below water and sustainable cities and communities. We sort of work strongly in this area and that reflects in both sustainable cities and communities as well as life below water. There are people in IIT who are looking at water quality remediation, but I look at more like in a monitoring and in a monitoring sense. We need to know how bad the water is before we try to treat it, or after treatment, is the water good enough? Typically, to find out whether it's good enough and all that is very expensive. We just look at the issue of health. If you look at statistics, I mean, these might be a little outdated, but still you will get the feel. 40% of the hospitalized people borrow money or sell assets to cover expenses. 35% of hospitalized Indians fall below poverty line because of hospital expenses. Okay. Now, government hospitals are typically free, but there are out-of-pocket expense. Someone goes to a Southern hospital or a district hospital, someone has to go with them, and that someone has to hang around there. Both of them are losing their daily wages. They have to eat there, they have to stay in some place, they have to pay someone. 2.2% of the population of India fall below poverty line every year because of these out-of-pocket expenses. Of course, that 2.2% fall down and there are 2% who might climb out, that also might be there. 29% live below the poverty line and depend exclusively on free health services, and the public spending on health is like 0.9% of GDP at that time. Now it might have grown to 2%. The global average is 5.5%. So, as a government, we are doing nothing. So, the question is that as public, can we do something? But I mean, it is not just advocacy, but also do active work. We have a large rural population, very low medical care, density of medical care and diagnostic facilities. People have to travel large distances, waste of both time and money, and of course, the loss of wages, expenses for travel and so on, which is a major issue. So that was about the health. What is the situation in health? And we'll come to as to what maybe we can do about it, how we are trying to address it in very small efforts. The water quality in India is pretty pathetic. I am really worried now that Maharashtra has banned single-use plastic bottles. What water am I going to drink? When I, let's say I'm going to Dadar or someplace, I feel very thirsty. I need some water. What water am I going to drink there? Because the single-use water bottles are now banned. I do not know whether the glass bottles are properly cleaned or not. I recently went to Sikkim, North Sikkim, Lachung and Lachen. They have banned mineral water. You go there, they actually search your card. If they find a bottle in your card, per mineral water bottle, they charge $500. And in everywhere, there is big posters which say, do not bring mineral water to Lachung and Lachen, we provide safer alternatives. Now, before going there, I was very afraid that I will get hill diarrhea or this diarrhea, that diarrhea over there. Lachung, Lachen, nothing happened. I merrily drank water from what the hotel provided in big bottles. I merrily provided that, kuch nahi hua. So we can actually do it. It is not that we cannot do it, but we have to have the will to really invest in that and do it. They have done it. And remember, this is Lachung and Lachen, which is like, off the track places. Their water does not have any pathogens. Of course, it's cold, pathogens will not be there. But their water does not have heavy metals also. And they are coming from artisan wells. And in artisan well, one of the issues is that there can be some metals or some inclusions which might be problematic. But they don't have that problem. They are not suffering from issues of arsenic. Okay. The water quality is 100 million people live in India, live in areas of poor water quality. 100 million. 10 crore. And that poor water quality is I'm saying poor water quality in a very gentle sense. That poor water quality means that you should not touch that water, leave alone drink it. Arsenic. About 130 million people in the world are affected by arsenic. 50 million people are exposed to arsenic levels which are more than 50 parts per billion, which is like 5 times the recommended amount. 10 parts per billion is the recommended amount. Recommended not, maximum allowable amount, not recommended. You should not, 10 parts per billion recommended amount बोलेगा तो हाँ मुझे 10 parts per billion लेना है, ऐसा नहीं है. Arsenic kills by cancer. Arsenic creates what is called morbidity and mortality both. People are not able to work, people also die. Lead. Very easy. We all had lead pipes in the house and all that. So, lead. Again, a huge number of people suffer from lead poisoning. I am a Bengali, I am a fish eater. Okay. Sea coast. All the fish are contaminated with mercury. Okay. We eat fish, we are taking some mercury along with it. The question is, how do we test it? And mercury is also there in the soil, in the water, every place. How do we test it? That 0.001 milligrams per kg, if you try to test it, you spend like $5,000 testing it using ICP-MS or something like that. Now, of course, the water crisis is a serious problem all over the world. The next world war will be over water. Okay. What are the solutions that we have? Reducing wastage and recycling wastewater. So, in urban situations, there is a now in Maharashtra, in Bombay, actually there is a rule that you have to reuse grey water. Grey water is the water that is produced in the household which does not possibly have any fecal contamination. That means typically your basins, your showers, your laundry, dishwashing, kitchen and so on. These can at least be used to do toilet flushing, gardening, irrigation, car washing, etc. and firefighting, so on. Maharashtra has actually a law. Now, the grey water plants are mandatory in residential complexes which is more than 2,500 square meters. That means 25,000 square feet. You take it as 1,000 square feet a house, 25 people household, 25 people flat, they should have a grey water plant. but you have to test the water quality every 6 months. You also have to monitor the quality of treated grey water because you don't know whether the plant is working or not. Plant to hai, plant काम कर रहेगा. Half of the time we have a situation the industry knows very well effluent treatment ऐसा करना है वैसा करना है. They put a effluent treatment plant. The effluent treatment plant barely works. So the water is going through the effluent treatment plant nicely into the river, and the river is getting contaminated. No one is testing as to how good that testing needs to be done every day as to how good the effluent treatment plant is working, or in case here the grey water plant how well it is working. But of course you cannot spend 20,000 rupees a day testing these plants. So we have to find an easier way to monitor, a cheaper, more inexpensive way to monitor. Now, grey water quality standards have something like the BOD, COD and all that, physicochemical properties. There is bacterial contamination, and that is precisely what we target. Restricted irrigation, that means that you put it into the ground and the plants take up the water. Unrestricted irrigation means crops eaten raw. Okay, you spray it, you put it on the crops or so there the standards are very different. 1000 bacteria per mil in water and 10 bacteria per mil in water. Very, very different quality standards. So the question that I'm asking myself is, can we make a sensor system which is affordable, easy to use and sort of context sensitive? I don't want a sensing system which can detect 1 bacteria per mil when I am trying to detect whether the water has more than 1000 bacteria per mil. It does not make sense. So context sensitive development. Typically, and of course there is, besides pathogen, there is heavy metals. It can be there in your in your tap water, in drinking water. How do we detect it? Nowadays the typical detections are ICP-MS, chromatography, ICP-AES and so on. You give a sample to IIT Bombay, the instrumentation facilities, they charge you 3,000 bucks. Of course you cannot use it. Use it for research once or twice. So there is a lot of research going on trying to develop sensors which are inexpensive and therefore cost per testing is much lower. So we have developed a platform. Tomorrow my students are going to talk more in detail about this platform. But today I'll just give you an overview and a sort of philosophy behind the development of the platform. We have 2 platforms. One is a optical fiber or optical waveguide based, and we have another one which is electrochemistry based. Not exactly electrochemistry, I would say electrical impedance spectroscopy. The beauty of the platforms is that it can detect a whole bunch of different types of things. So I developed the platform, the sensor head is different each time. It can detect proteins in serum, like for in health cases. It can detect bacteria in water, it can detect heavy metals in water. The electronics on this box, as you see here, this remains the same. Only a sensor head changes. I'll show you a picture of the sensor head. There's another level in which we are working on the health side is we are looking at detecting neonatal jaundice. And detecting neonatal jaundice is not a big deal. A doctor sees the neonate, knows jaundice hai. But how much? What is the bilirubin count? Now, typically these neonates, about 30% of the kids born will have some sort of jaundice. About 15-20% of them will need, of the 30% will need some sort of treatment. And these neonates, mind you, are the smallest of the babies. I mean, they might have been premature, and if premature babies typically have jaundice. It is my little one, my younger daughter, she had neonatal jaundice, and it was a heartbreaking sight to see the doctor hold her little itsy size leg, foot, and prick it with a needle to take some blood out. It was bad for me. My poor younger daughter, she was way too small to protest. She of course tried to throw the doctor's hand out, but doctor was stronger than her, I guess. It is, so can we reduce the number of pinpricks? They do this every day. So can we look at the color of the skin, do some analysis with it, and try to figure out at what level the jaundice is, or whether the therapeutics that is being applied is really working or not. So this we are developing with a startup they have gotten into that. And so we are developing something like this, where there is going to be a light source and it is going to hook up to a mobile and so on. But let us start at the basics. That was a very brief glimpse. Now a little bit detail. So we develop these sensors with optical fibers. What we do with the optical fiber is, all of you might be familiar with optical fibers to some extent, that there is a core and there is a cladding. We strip off the cladding and we strip off not the whole cladding, part of the cladding, and that part we functionalize with something, some receptors, so that we can detect various things. So how do we bend the optical fiber? We take a candle. Earlier, the first time we bend it, we took a candle, lit the candle and took the fiber and bent it with the heat. It worked beautifully. But then my students have gotten a little bit high tech. So they said, no, candle is too low tech, we should do something better. So now we use a butane burner. Oh, 200 rupiya mein aata hai, butane burner with that tank. Oh, they turn it on, bend the fiber. All the receptors and everything, whatever we put on the surface, are made in a regular lab. It does not require heavy duty investment. For that matter, I call these sensors garage sensors. Because if you have a garage where you can put a butane burner and you have a little heater and a stirrer and pots and pans, a total investment of maybe 20,000 rupees or even less, you can make these sensors. And not only you, your kid can make these sensors. My elder daughter, she is a little goofy character like I am. She wanted to do a project on physics. She had a high school project, physics, chemistry and biology. एक में एक project करना है. Then she wanted to do एक project जिसमें सब कुछ हो जाएगा. So I told her that the only lab probably in IIT which does physics, chemistry and biology is probably mine. You come there, I'll put you with a PhD student, you make your sensors and do the experiment. 7 days it took for her to learn how to make these sensors. She was in 11th standard. She could make these sensors, did the experiments, did some sensing, wrote a report and all of that, done. So, number one, making these sensors does not require extremely high scientific precision value and extreme background knowledge. Once you have developed the technology, anyone can pick it up. And once you have developed the technology, anyone can do it anywhere. It does not require a 10 crore rupee investment in a lab or something like that. So that is why I call these garage sensors. The idea is that some village level entrepreneur, I mean, we will make the electronic box. Someone is going to take it up and make the sensors and sell it. That is the model. And that someone can be anyone actually. So we tested it. This is very old data. This is almost I would say probably in 2006-07. That time our detection limits were somewhat low. But gradually for bacteria, with this we can detect 1 bacteria per mil. And if you look at the volume per volume, if 1 bacteria is there in water, let's say 1 bacteria is 10 cubic micron. Okay, it's about 3 micron long and about a micron so diameter or something like that. It's 10 cubic micron. 10 is 10 to the power minus 18 meter cube. 10 to the power micron, 10 to the power minus 18 meter cube, and once 1 ml is 10 to the power minus 9 ml. So it's cubic centimeter. Sorry, 10 to the power minus 6. Sorry, 10 to the power minus 6. And that was 10 to the power minus? Yeah, 10 to the power minus 6, but that is cubic micron. So 10 to the power minus 6 to the power 3. Okay, so 10 to the minus 18, and here we have 10 to the minus 6. Okay, so we have the detection volume per volume of 1 in 10 to the power 12. Volume per volume detection limits. Okay, this 1 bacteria per mil sometimes is a little non-reproducible. 10 bacteria per mil we can do. Okay. Oh, not 1 in 10 to the power 12, 1 in 10 to the power 11. That is the level of sensitivity that these sensors actually have. This actually is a first in the world sort of thing. We could take these and move on and coat these sensors with polyaniline. Again, how do we coat polyaniline? We take aniline monomer, dip the fiber in it and put oxidizing agent in it, it coats the fiber. With that, on top of that, we put some bovine serum albumin, again cheap something. With that, we can detect down to a picomolar level of lead. And it is very selective towards lead. All sorts of other things, calcium, iron, potassium, magnesium, manganese, sodium, low response. Lead, very high response. We could sense arsenic. And mind you, what is the cost of this sensor? That optical fiber is a couple of rupees. Your BSA will be worth a rupee or two. Your polyaniline will be in paisas. So your total sensor is about maybe 10 rupees to make, maybe, or even less than that. You can sell it for 50 rupees. You try to measure 1 picomolar lead by any of these ICP-MS and all that, they are going to charge you 3,000 rupees. So that is the impact that this can have. We can do the same sort of system for arsenic. Okay. And we can detect down to 1.2 parts per billion. Remember, the WHO allowable limit is 10 parts per billion. We can detect 1.2 parts per billion. And I am showing you literally raw data, unpolished data, as you can, so you can see some, jiggy noise and standard error bars and all sorts of things. And this we did by actually taking this human immunoglobulin, which one can buy, and denaturing it. We heat denatured, UV denatured, so we did some studies, the UV denatured ones. So since it is already denatured, there is nothing worse to happen to it. So the shelf life of these sensors are very high. So this optoelectronics box, that white box that I showed you, it can be done to detect a variety of things. It can detect specific bacteria, it can detect total bacterial load, it can detect heavy metals. And as I said, it does not require much of an infrastructural investment, chemicals, fiber technologies, anyone can actually pick it up and use it. So now we come to this grey water monitoring, and here we use a different sensor, because that is even cheaper than the optical fibers. So the culture and colony counting, it takes time, 24, 48 hours, 72 hours. This quantitative PCR, very good, 5 to 24 hours, but quite expensive. So again, can we develop something which is even cheaper than the optical fibers? Optical fibers will do that grey water sensing just like that, there is no problem in that. So what we are working on what is called a impedance spectroscopy. It is based on a filter paper. It is enabled with a smartphone, or there is also a standalone system. The impedance spectroscopy measurements, the results will show is with an instrument called frequency response analyzer, but we are also doing it with the standalone system and all. We are trying to look at the total bacterial load in grey water. In the grey water, there should be, if you are using it for irrigation, there should be less than 1000 CFU per mil. What do? We take this paper and coat it with polyaniline, wash it, put a voltage through a frequency range, and that's it. And what we have done, we have tested it with PBS spike tap water. The limit of detection with for E. coli is 300 to 1000 CFU per mil. We have done bacterial culture, take bacteria and spike it in grey water, whether there is bacteria or not. Detection limit was about 1000 CFU per mil, which is filtered grey water, and unfiltered grey water, which has a lot of other debris and all that, the detection limit is somewhat higher. But we do not envisage that we are going to use unfiltered grey water for doing the testing. When we take a sample, it is. And so, but what is this sensor? This sensor is a piece of filter paper on which the student draws 2 lines using silver paste. The polyaniline is deposited in the middle of those 2 lines, and that's it. That's your sensor. That sensor costs like 5 paisa maybe, or maybe 20 paisa, rupee. So the hope is that for all urban houses or what do you call that, residence complexes, they should buy these things and test the grey water almost daily. Because if the testing daily costs 2-3 rupees, people won't have much of a hassle in actually testing it. So these are the variety of prototypes. This is the earlier version of the white box that I showed. This is the impedance spectroscopy machine that we are developing. This is a standalone instrument, and the same thing can be hooked up, same thing, the same principle can be used using a mobile as the primary brain. So behind the thing, here the brain is also inside here, the microcontroller and all sorts of things. This is just a little simple box. Hook it up to the mobile and start it off. This is the prototype of the Billiscope by which we measure this neonatal jaundice. It creates there is a light and there is a reflection that is taken, and that reflection is analyzed for looking at what is the bilirubin level and all. So that is this the clinical test for this is going on in Pune. Yeah, so that is about it.